आज आम गहन अच्छा ऑस्ट्रेलिया रो डेप्यूटी कंसल जनरल मिस्टर डैनियल सिम से एक बहुत सरल व्यक्ति मु साथी रे गोटे बहुत सुंदर गोटे इंटरफेस करी से विभिन्न दिगरे कही भारत साथी रे कौन रिलेशन ऑस्ट्रेलिया रो हॉकी क्रिकेट आउ एनिमल्स उपर से कही ट्रेड रिलेशंस टा केमती आस्ते आस्ते धीरे धीरे बढ़ुची भारत और ऑस्ट्रेलिया तापर से आलोकपात करते तो आसतु मुझे कहूँ गोटे सारांश गोटे छोट गोटे समरी दूची तापर आपण माने देखिए इंटरफेस टा जो करी विथ मिस्टर डैनियल सिम. Well, my dear friends, we are indeed privileged to have Mr. Daniel Sim, Deputy Consul General from Australia. He will be discussing on Australia and India relationship. As India celebrates 75th anniversary of the independence, the Australia-India Comprehensive Strategic Partnership agreed in 2020 continues to scale new heights. से विषय में आलोचना करिबा. You will be very happy to know that Australia government has announced 280 million Australian dollars to build out ties across the breadth of relationship and support to India's leadership in the region. The publication of an update to the Indian economic strategy to 2035 provides a blueprint for developing ties. These support the historic India-Australian Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement signed on 2nd of April 2022. I would like to tell very briefly about the very friendly relationship between India and Australia. You will be very happy to know that gradually the Australian government is building strong trade and investment relationship to bolster economic recovery and enhance the prosperity and security of Australia with friendly countries like India. Australia and India have highly complementary economies, and the sustained growth of both economies will continue to enhance opportunities for business. Business दिगरे से मानकर विभिन्न टाइज होची, ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट होची, कोऑपरेशन होची, आउ आस्ते आस्ते से मानकर लिंकेज टा मधे आस्ते आस्ते फ्रेंडशिप both as countries and also in trade and business to help realize the economic potential of our relationship. The government committed in 2018 different packages with India and also with Australia. आपना बहुत खुशी है. The update sets out where the government will focus over the next 5 years to realize the Indian economic strategy for India, and it will be considered, India will be considered as a partner with Australia. It maintains the momentum built since the launch of the Indian economic strategy. Prime Minister Morrison and Prime Minister Modi's announcement of a comprehensive strategic partnership in June 2020 is very important at the moment, and both the countries are responding in a very positive manner. It's a very good sign that both Australia and India and both the prime ministers, they are responding in a very positive manner. The update supports to the traditional strengths of education, trade, commerce and technology between both the countries that will remain central to the economic ties with India. It also positions to expand the investment and cooperation in emerging sectors such as low emissions of technologies, cyber and critical technologies, both countries, and future prosperity. It will help drive science and innovations partnerships, complementing the emergence of Australia and India in trade and commerce. The focus mostly will be on trade and economic ties, energy, science and innovations, people-to-people links which will consider, and that will enhance the relationship between India and Australia. There is also focus on strengthening the region, and you will be very happy to know that India and Australia are also exchanging, officers in the defense area, where defense professionals, and senior officers from Australia will be visiting India, and from India they will be also visiting India. So there is also a defense, cooperation between the two countries, which you will definitely appreciate, will definitely be in a very positive direction between both the countries. And Indian economic strategy to 2035, navigating from potential to delivery, is also in focus, and both the countries are together, and I am sure with this ties, and with this trade and commerce, with this cooperation, not only relationship between the two countries will be in a better mode, in a positive mode, but also trade and business will also grow in the region. I would like to also tell one little thing, which you will definitely appreciate, that not only in the area of sports, like be it cricket, be it hockey, India and Australia, they are very much in the foray, so that you must have seen a lot of matches are taking place in hockey and also in Australia. And other than that, the focus is now mostly also in education. What I understand, from Mr. Daniel, when I spoke to him, he very briefly said that we have a long tie with India pertaining to education, and in different sectors, be it engineering, be it medicine, be it in different areas. Students from India, they come to Australia and they have their education, and they come back to India, and obviously not only ties grows, but also the education, there is a lot of focus also, and that is also the very positive mode of discussion which is going on. And he was very, very happy to announce that there are very good scholarships which the Indian students can also avail in Australia. He didn't dilate on the details of the scholarship, but he said once the different schools, colleges, universities, students contact, definitely we will be very, very happy to tell them what are the different scholarships that are available to the Indian students. And I am sure with improving trade and commerce, with the educational foray in the area, I am sure things will definitely improve, and India and Australia will definitely move ahead in the area of education, in the area of sports, in the area of tourism, and also in the area of friendly linkage with people to people links. Now what I am trying to tell, which is very important, is ladies and gentlemen, my dear friends, you will definitely appreciate that India is definitely very much in linkage with Australia, and the relation between the two countries is definitely improving. With these few words, I would just like to tell you that दर्शक बंधु मैंने आपण मैंने मुझे आपन को किसी आलोचना कली आपण मैंने बढ़िया गोटे इंटरफेस जाको आमे कहू कैंडिड इंटरफेस जोटा मु I had a candid interface with the Deputy Consul General of Australia, Mr. Daniel Sim, and I am sure आपण मैंने निश्चय एंजॉय करिवे सेटा आपण मान अत्यंत भल लागिवो. Welcome Mr. Daniel Sim, and you will be very, very happy to know that the interface you just had was very well taken, and I am sure all kudos to you and to Australia. I'll ask you a very simple question which I am sure you will very much appreciate. There is a deep understanding and cooperation between India and Australia pertaining to economic cooperation and trade agreement. Kindly dilate on this very briefly.
Well, I'm very pleased to be here in Odisha to present the India Economic Strategy to 2035, a report update that was released by the Australian government earlier this year, and also pleased to be able to speak about opportunities under the recently signed India-Australia Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement, which will present new opportunities for businesses in both countries.
Mr. Daniel, I would just like to ask you, you have visited Odisha and you have visited different parts of India. What is somewhat similar to India and Australia? Maybe I'm talking of culture, maybe food, maybe dress, whatever it is. What do you think there is some similarity between Australia and India?
Well, Australia and Eastern India in particular have some very interesting links and similarities, I think, in terms of our love for sport, for instance, whether it's hockey, cricket or other sports. And then also I think the tribal and indigenous communities, both populations in Australia and Eastern India, are places and communities where there are similarities in terms of the way that they think about the way that they live their lives, and also some of the heritage and the histories that they have.
In Odisha for quite some days. Now, what is a unique experience of yours which you had in Odisha, which you would like to share with our viewers? Something very unique, something very different, which you would like to share with the viewers.
So I had the opportunity to visit southern Odisha and to go to the village of Kakiriguma, and I stayed at a guest house called the Chanduri Sai Guest House, which is run by an Australian Leon Mani and also staffed by tribal women from the Paroja tribe. So that was a very beautiful experience in terms of enjoying nature and the culture and heritage of Odisha.
Wonderful. What do you think? The Indian Chamber of Commerce is playing a pivotal and proactive role in creating a linkage between Government of Australia and Government of India to boost trade and industry?
So we're very pleased to be able to present this seminar with the Indian Chamber of Commerce, and working with the Chambers of Commerce to increase knowledge about the opportunities for trade between Australia and India is an important part of the role that the Chambers of Commerce have to play.
Now, when we are talking of education, you just spoke about education and how important it is for students from India to go to Australia and have skill development and learning. Now, which are the areas you think there is scope for Indian students to pursue their studies in Australia? Which are the specific areas you personally feel? There are different areas, but I'm talking of your personal opinion.
So Australia and India have a long-standing education and research collaboration partnership, and I think every year more than 100,000 Indian students study at Australian institutions. So it's a really fruitful and long-standing partnership, and I think whether it's in vocational education and training, whether it's in our higher education institutions, and whether it's through partnerships between industry and educational institutions, I think there's a lot more scope for even further collaboration between the two countries.
Wonderful. Now, you must have seen throughout the world, because of the pandemic, we had a lot of problems, whether it is Australia and India or US, everywhere we had problems. But post-pandemic, things, are moving upscale. Same is the case in India. What is your view about Australia?
So Australia is on a path to economic recovery after the difficulties of COVID that a lot of countries experienced. But I think hopefully that the better days are ahead with regards to overcoming the pandemic and ensuring that our citizens are able to benefit economically through greater international trade and investment.
Wonderful. Now, I would just like to tell you one thing which you will definitely appreciate. Given the opportunity, will you visit Bhubaneswar again?
Absolutely. I'd be very pleased to have every opportunity to come back to Bhubaneswar again.
And what is that you like best of India?
Well, I've had the opportunity to travel around India a little bit, and experiencing the culture, the heritage, and the warmth and friendliness of the people is something that I'll definitely remember when my stay in India is over.
Wonderful. As the Deputy Consul General of Australia, what would be your message to the business entrepreneurs of Odisha, particularly the young?
Australia is very pleased to be able to support young people here in Odisha to make sure that they have the skills and the opportunities to engage in the economy and to engage with countries such as Australia for the betterment of peoples in both our countries.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your very frank and interactive session with us. आपण माने समस्ते जानती जे ओडिशा मिनरल्स और नेचुरल रिसोर्सेस रे भरपूर से विषय रे मिस्टर डैनियल मध्य विभिन्न सब जो उद्योगी माने आसीथिले सेमानक साथरे गोटे भल गोटे आलोचना करिथिले आ आमे आशा करूछु जे किछि समय परे ए जो आलोचनाटा हेछि तार निश्चय फलप्रद हबो। तो जिमिंदे आपण माने जानती स्पोर्ट्स रे क्रिकेट उपरे गोटे आलोचना हला, हॉकी उपरे आलोचना हला, इंडस्ट्री उपरे आलोचना हला, केमिकल इंडस्ट्री उपरे आलोचना हला। तो विभिन्न दिगरे से माने गोटे आलोचना कले। तो मु भाबुची किछि समय परे निश्चित भाव में सी आउ थे आसी पारती ओडिशा निश्चय गोटे आ गोटे फ्रेश गोटे आलोचना हम मु भावुची निश्चय आमर उद्यमटा गोटे फलप्रद हम। मु आशा करुँच आपण जो देखिले निश्चय आपन को भल लगी आपणकर ए डिस्कशनटा निश्चित भाव में आपन को किछि इनफॉरमेशन जोगेब आपन को ऑस्ट्रेलिया साथ गोटे किछि गोटे संजोग करबा पई किछि गोटे बिजनेस एंटरप्राइज को आगु बढ़ाया पई।
2035 रे भारत अर्थनीति हेबो आहुरी मजबूत। नूतन व्यवसायी मानंकु नै तयारी हेबो ऑस्ट्रेलिया वाणिज्य संपर्क। ताकु नै मिस्टर डैनियल सिम कहिसंती भारत रे बहुत भलो शिक्षा व्यवस्था रहिछि, हेले शिक्षा प्रणाली रे किछि उन्नति दरकार। ता सहित केमिति युव व्यवसायी माने आगुको आसिबे ओ गोटे भलो व्यवसायी भाबरे निजको प्रमाणित करिवे से नै उपयुक्त व्यवस्था कराइले आहुरी उन्नति संभव होई पारिबो।
Steel obviously has a long-standing relationship with Australia in terms of supply and other things, and I know actually there's a program called Innoventure, which is between Tata Steel and the Australian Ostmine, and doing some innovation on sort of in the industry to make the industry more sustainable.
नूतन व्यवसायी मानकु नै तयारी हेबो भारत ऑस्ट्रेलिया वाणिज्य संपर्क। एहा सहित तयारी हेबो उत्तम मानर शिक्षा प्रणाली। एही कार्यक्रम रे आगामी दिन रे केमिति युव व्यवसायी माने आगुको आसीबे ता सहित कृषि भित्तिक उपकरण व्यवहार करि पारिबे, केमिति उन्नत मानर शिक्षा प्रणाली नै शिक्षा उन्नति करि पारिबे से नै आलोचना होछि।
क्वालिटी तो जैसे इन्होंने कहा अभी तो इम्प्रूव जैसे ये चिदा जैसे एजुकेशंस में लगी हुई हैं और अपने टीचिंग क्वालिटी के लिए अपने ऑनरेबल चीफ मिनिस्टर ऑफ उड़ीसा ऑल्सो ये एक एजुकेशन के ऊपर में सब कोई जोर दे रहे हैं और ये टीचिंग इट हैज़ टू इम्प्रूव। और जैसे मैं एकल विद्यालय के साथ भी जुड़ा हुआ हूँ जो वन टीचर वन स्कूल, तो हम लोग भी देख रहे हैं कि भाई एजुकेशन इज़ अ वेरी प्राइम थिंग विच वी हैव टू गिव टू चिल्ड्रन एंड दिस विल ओनली चेंज आवर सिनेरियो। फ्यूचर इकोनॉमी स्ट्रांग तो आप जैसे देख रहे हैं ना कि मैं उसमें अब और आपको क्या ऐड करूं, मैं तो अपने तो देख ही रहे हैं कैसे। ठीक है अभी ये कोविड जो सिचुएशन थी वो तो बहुत बुरी गई। कोविड ने हमको और भी कुछ सिखाया है, फैमिली के साथ कैसे रहना है क्या है, बट फ्यूचर तो ज़रूर ये यूक्रेन का वार होने के बाद में ये जो थोड़ा सा प्राइसेस का थोड़ा सा डिफरेंस हुआ है, पर्टिकुलरली आई मीन मेटल, तो और मेटल प्राइसेस हैव इंक्रीज्ड बाय 200%, समझे ना। प्राइस हाई का तो प्रॉब्लम उसको ये तो एक एड्रेस करना ही पड़ेगा सबको, ये तो सभी कर भी रहे हैं और ये तो एक ऐसी चीज़ है जिसको अपने को कैसे भी करके इसको सबको मिल करके कैसे इसको पार करना है।
Not just government or any chief minister, not only prime minister or any politician can do it. It's all about the individual who can do it. See, when we talk about the Indian Chamber of Commerce, who are the Indian Chamber of Commerce? It's the people like us, the industry intellects, industry fraternity, which is giving the inputs to a better Odisha. It is like the same thing. Joti individual, each individual contribute their expertise, their technology, their innovation, their future thinking, then only Odisha and India can be grow. So if that is happening, and that is happening, then definitely 2035 India will rule over the world.
भारत और ऑस्ट्रेलिया वाणिज्य संपर्क हेबो उन्नत। उभय देशर व्यवसाय उद्योगपति हेबे निकटतर। यह उभय देशर अर्थनीति को आउ पादे आगे नेब। भुवनेश्वर कैमरा पर्सन गौरी शंकर सह दिलीप साहू को रिपोर्ट MBC न्यूज।
मिस्टर डैनियल सिम साथरे डेप्यूटी काउंसिल जनरल ऑस्ट्रेलिया साथरे आमर जो गोटे विशेष साक्षात्कार होता आपण मान निश्चय भल लगी मु आशा करुच्ची आपण मैंने यू कि संवाद नहीं करी निजर दिगटा को आपण निर्णय करेंगे जे आम कि भाव में गोटे ऑस्ट्रेलिया साथ गोटे बिजनेस संपर्क स्थापन करी आम आगू बढ़िया। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद दर्शक बंधु।